Some crazy details have been revealed regarding D'Angelo Russell's breakout season with the LA Lakers this year, as he directly spoke out on his relationship with Darvin Ham, as well as former teammate Dennis Schroder, and how a lot of things were going on that didn't lead to a successful situation for D'Angelo Russell last season, why things look much brighter for the team this year. And he had some, I want to say directly that shots were fired, but some wild things were addressed in his recent interview. So lots of crazy things to discuss in this video. But before we dive into that, folks, if you want to stay up to date with all the Lakers coverage, we're delivering it here at Lakers Digest. So it would mean the world to us if you guys could hit that like button on this video. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes on this vid. So, helps us grow the channel and deliver you all of the latest Lakers coverage. But let's dive into what's been going on, because there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. D'Angelo Russell's completely shifted the narrative that Lakers fans had for him entering this season, because again, he was a really nice acquisition at last year's trade deadline, helped turn around the team last year's trade deadline to make a Western Conference Finals playoff push, put the Lakers back in a situation where they can make one of those runs. However, during the playoffs especially, we saw a bit of a fall off from D'Angelo Russell. Wasn't really performing to the standards you'd expect from a guy that was an all-star just a few seasons prior. Again, has been up and down over the course of his career, but, really struggled to perform in the playoffs. No sense or buts about it. But this year, despite months of trade rumors, trade speculation, feeling like a deal was done with the Atlanta Hawks, DeJounte Murray coming to the LA Lakers, it didn't faze D'Lo and allowed him to really step his game up and prove that he is still one of those top elite upper echelon guards in the entire NBA. And he basically addressed this entire situation recently in an interview and had some crazy things to say. So we'll discuss that right now. Basically, Russell knew that Ham and Schroeder's history went back nearly a decade to their time together with the Atlanta Hawks, where Ham was an assistant coach. Russell, meanwhile, had been around Ham for 2 months, and Schroeder ended up signing a 2-year deal with the Toronto Raptors and traded to the Brooklyn Nets. But he directly came out and said that his relationship regarding Dennis Schroder with Darvin Ham is the reason I couldn't have a relationship with Darvin. When I was struggling, I would have been able to come to the coach and say, bro, this is what we should do. Like, I can help you. Instead, there was no dialogue. I just accepted it. And we got swept, and now I'm here and he's not, and I like our chances. So a lot of things said in that quote there from D'Angelo Russell. Basically, to dive into it, discussed how last season, obviously, Dennis Schroder and D'Angelo Russell was the starter for most of the season, and then minutes sort of got changed, late in games, who was actually getting run. That led to Darvin Ham, especially by the end of last season, come playoff time, he was leaning in the route of Dennis Schroder. And D'Angelo Russell, again, he knew he was struggling, he knew all these types of things, but didn't feel comfortable going to Darvin Ham and saying, hey, this is the stuff that needs to be changed, because basically accusing him of favoritism from a guy in Dennis Schroder that, yes, is very good at basketball, is a guy that was a nice point guard for LA, brought a ton of energy, hustle out there on the defensive end, could speed up the game, could facilitate. Dennis Schroder is good, and I don't want to come off as a guy that's hating on Dennis Schroder's game or anything like that, but D'Angelo Russell is the better basketball player. It's just is what it is. He's a better shooter, scorer, facilitator, all those types of things. You can probably make the argument Schroeder's better on defense, but D'Angelo Russell is that guy. Over the course of his career, has been an all-star, has been all these types of things. So he felt that there was a little favoritism getting played to Dennis Schroder. Obviously, D'Angelo Russell was going to be the starter, but that didn't end up becoming the case during the playoffs last year. And let D'Lo to just be deflated, which kind of makes sense, because if you feel like your coach is not going to position you into the best possible spot out there on the basketball court to maximize your talent, maximize your team's chances of winning, and there's no dialogue going on, there's no back and forths, that's going to demoralize a player. That's going to affect your ability to sort of blossom in a new situation, as he was traded mid-season to the LA Lakers. And, things didn't really work that great, especially when things, it came to it. And D'Lo basically said, and we got swept. And now I'm here and he's not, and I like our chances. So referring to Dennis Schroder being out, there's no choice but to play D'Lo now at this point, Darvin Ham. And we'll see how it all shakes out. But I love that sort of confidence. I love that sort of direction from D'Angelo Russell. And we saw this when the Los Angeles Lakers played the Toronto Raptors in a recent matchup. D'Lo and Schroeder were going at it out there on the basketball court, going back and forth, getting fired up with one another. You can go back and watch the highlights of that game. And now this puts a lot of context and makes it makes it make a lot of sense, why there's a little bit of beef there, specifically with D'Angelo regarding Dennis Schroder. So that's a very interesting sort of dynamic that's going on. It makes you think about more about Darvin Ham, because Lakers fans have been calling for his head most of the season again. Couple of really nice wins against the Bucks and the Timberwolves as of late, but the Lakers have underperformed this year. A lot of weird lineups have been run, and again, I don't want to completely say Darvin Ham is being delusional with stuff. The Lakers have dealt with some injuries, so that is something we have to deal with. But looking back to last season, staying on the content of what's going on right now, again, D'Angelo Russell during the regular season for the LA Lakers has been good, right? Like, was good after getting traded. Only 17 points per game, 6 assists, right around his career average, doing his thing out there. And Dennis Schroder, again, for the LA Lakers last year specifically, right? 12 points per game, 4 assists. The numbers were down for Dennis Schroder comparatively to D'Angelo Russell, right? And you can look at the numbers, similar minutes per game. D'Lo's just a better scorer, facilitator, all the things on the offensive end. D'Lo does substantially better than Dennis Schroder. However, come playoff time, when things really came down to it, and again, D'Lo was struggling a bit. That is true, and probably deserved getting sit on the bench for a little while, but and you can look at the stats here as well. His numbers significantly went down, as we just saw in comparison. Again, was pretty good for some games in the Memphis series. Had his ups and downs during that series, without a doubt. But against Golden State as well as Denver especially, his points per game, his efficiency, his everything, really took a nosedive. 13% from against the LA Lakers and stuff like that. But again, coach is not instilling you with confidence, he's benching, he's doing these types of things, that's going to have an impact on your ability to perform. And then with Dennis Schroder, right, we saw his minutes really escalate as the playoffs went along, as crunch time came down to it. We saw that Darvin Ham had his favorites, had his guys that he was really leaning in on. And again, the stats weren't that crazy for Dennis Schroder, weren't that drastic, weren't that, defensively he was a step above D'Angelo Russell, but wasn't just the surefire thing where it made a ton of sense for this to really be the case. And again, maybe I'm looking at D'Lo with rose-tinted glasses because I know what he could do during the regular season and stuff, and the playoffs were pretty rough, but it puts a lot of context into why there was such a dramatic drop-off, in these big high-pressure moments, because Schroder was clearly favored over a D'Angelo Russell over that entire playoff run. So this season, again, the questions about Darvin Ham, they remain. There's no easing things now just because there's another option, right? There's favoritism in the lineups. We get all of that. That's his whole own situation. But the fact about D'Angelo Russell, and this was my point leading up to the trade deadline, why I wouldn't be absolutely shook if the LA Lakers traded D'Angelo Russell, even though he's playing well throughout the course of the season, because during the playoffs, there are question marks about his game. Can he continue this level of production during the postseason? And last season, again, it didn't really look like it, but this extra context, this relationship, this extra baggage that D'Angelo Russell was sort of dealing with last year, especially where he's been good in playoffs past. He's had some decent moments with the Minnesota Timberwolves, averaging 12 points per game, 7 assists, not crazy numbers, but particularly with the Brooklyn Nets, as at age 22, had some really, really solid numbers there. Right, D'Angelo Russell has been solid in the past during the playoffs, right? Now with this weird relationship with Darvin Ham, I'm willing to give D'Lo more, I'm more optimistic on D'Lo's ability to translate this hot stretch of regular season into something that can be reproduced, can be done in the postseason. So we'll just have to see. Maybe he flames out, and then this is looking like the right move from Darvin Ham, but I don't know. Time will tell. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Hit that like button. We're going for 100 likes. Forget the subscribes. Hit that like button. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.